Question 3 has to do with level of alertness or consciousness. And when someone slips into a coma, they typically slip into a coma. They go from being awake to being lethargic to being obtunded to being in a stupor to being in a coma. And when they come out of their coma, it's the reverse order. So they go from a coma to being in a stuporous state to being obtunded, lethargic, and then awake and alert. Being obtunded is one step after being lethargic. So lethargic is what you guys are at the end of a lecture. You're tired, you may be falling asleep. Obtunded, that person is in a bit of a deeper sleep, but they can be aroused with a gentle shake or a loud voice. When they're aroused, they may be slow to respond to commands, which is the answer to this question. So you may ask them to raise their arm, and there may be this long pause before the arm actually lifts up. They also may be confused when they start to speak, whereas a lethargic person is not confused or disoriented. They're just kind of slow to move and sleepy. A person who is in a stupor, that is a person who is semi-conscious. That's one step away from being in a coma. I remember stupor, semi-conscious, those both start with S, and they're typically aroused with a sternal rub, which is another S word. Sternal rub is a painful stimulus. So if you're in a stupor, one step away from being in a coma, you're going to need a very intense, painful stimulus, usually a sternal rub or a pinch of the nail bed. So stupor, semi-conscious, or semi-comatose, and sternal rub kind of all go together. And then coma is the worst case scenario where you don't respond to any kind of stimuli, not even a painful stimuli. And we'll come back to this in our traumatic brain injury module, because the traumatic brain injured population is where you're most often going to encounter altered states of consciousness and people coming in and out of a coma.